Well, it wasn't the return of the Mac. It was the return of the Blowpen, John, and it cost the Angels the series against the Texas Rangers. Also, who's headed to the Arizona Fall League and why does it matter? And who's the new guy that everybody's been talking about, rumored to maybe be one of the candidates for the Angels manager? We're going to talk all about that because you're locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
For making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can give us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe. Click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts.
Hey, thanks for joining us for this edition of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every single day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
You can check us out at Locked On Angels on Twitter, and of course at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, you and I have seen a lot of Angels baseball, and Thursday felt all too familiar because it was the return of the Blowpen on Thursday. Yeah.
I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to be familiarized with what we've seen in the past, but that's exactly what happened. It was a 5-3 loss to the Texas Rangers, and this was the rubber match. This was the one that could give us the series, and we started off really great. Lorenzen went 5. He struck out 7, but then Aaron Loup came in and gave up the lead, and those runs actually got Lorenzen's ERA to rise a bit, and Loup actually didn't have to suffer at all. And then Quijada lost the lead in the 8th inning, and then eventually the Angels did lose 5-3. And it's one of those games, right? Like you got to win these games if you're going to be competitive. And I know it's the end of the season, just a few, 13, 14 games left. And, it's kind of like, well, let's just get it over with. But these are the types of games that we're going to need to win next season. Yeah. And the fact that we started off really great was exciting, but then having the bullpen come in and blow it again can be really frustrating, even though we are, 16, 17 games under 500 at this point.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register, he had tweeted that Quijada had only given up 6 hits to left-handed hitters. And so he was 6 for 46, and Corey Seager was the 6th hit, and that was the 2-run bomb that he gave up. So you like the matchup, but you don't like the results. And it seems like I really hope that Quijada develops some sort of third pitch in the offseason, because that fastball changeup combination is just not working for him. As
not fooling anybody.
Yeah, not anymore. He was looking really good kind of in the middle of the summer and kind of had emerged as somebody that we were excited about, but he is going to have to continue to fool batters, and he can't do that with a 2-pitch combination. Yeah, Lorenzen looks strong. He did get into trouble in the 6th. Luke comes in, 3 hits in a row, and all 3 inherited runners come in to score. Joe Adell had a great throw from left field, and Kurt Suzuki was playing out of his mind today behind the plate, and also he laid down a sacrifice bunt. Man, he almost beat that one out too, and it makes you think that the fact that he's got the end of his career coming up, he's playing his heart out right now. And not that he wasn't trying before, but there's always that extra gear you go to, especially like when you're in a situation where it's coming to an end. You go to that extra gear, and we saw that with Kurt Suzuki. He threw out Bubba Thompson at second base, and I can't remember the last time I've seen Kurt throw somebody out, especially for us. Right. So he was playing like a stud. He laid down that sacrifice bunt, almost beat it out. That play from Joe Adell was awesome to see. They threw out Nathaniel Lowe. So you just felt like there was momentum on the Angels side. And the problem is that we had a big 3rd inning. Mike Gallego did not send Magneuris Sierra, even though it was 2 outs, but you had Trout coming up. And so you had Rengifo on first, Sierra at third, and then Trout doubles them both home to get
how about
2 runs on the board.
Scoring from first base, man. What a hustler. That guy has just impressed me, especially in the latter part of this season. And to score from first base on a double to left field, like that's a It's a fast field, right? And it didn't feel like he was going to score because the ball got out there quickly. Trout ripped that one. And then the left fielder got to it pretty quickly. But by the time he was throwing it in, I'm like, oh, wow, Renjifo's rounding third. He's going for
almost
it.
home.
That was great, like to score from first. And those are the plays. Again, like if you want to win, those are the plays that you have to make, and you have to score. So I'm glad that Gallego sent him, and Renjifo, way to hustle. That was a lot of fun to see.
And with Trout on second, Taylor Ward got an RBI single, and Mike Gallego sent Trout home, and Trout was hustling around the base paths as well. So they were very strategic in how they were sending and who was coming up to the plate. And the whole reason why Gallego didn't send Sierra is because Trout was coming up to the plate, and you want to give him an opportunity with runners on base. This whole game was played because Shohei Ohtani had the day off because he is scheduled to start today against the Twins in Minnesota. And that guy is a workhorse. So it was a much deserved day off for Shohei Ohtani. But without him in the lineup, I appreciated how the Angels were being strategic in keeping guys who can hit in those runs coming up to the plate, not taking away any at-bats or risking those at-bats. So I thought that was pretty promising to see at the very least.
Yeah, you're going to see 40,000 people tonight at Target Field in Minnesota. Yeah. Is it still Target Field? Who knows what it is, right? All these different names, but you're going to see probably 40,000 people there because they're going to want to see Shohei Ohtani. He's got 3 or 2 starts left. I think 3. 3 starts left, and so opportunity for him to get a couple of wins. He has 13. He has 13, doesn't he? Wow, he's got 13 wins. He could get to 16 if he wins the next 3. And I make it sound like it's so easy, right?
And he needs 14 innings to qualify and become the first DH and starter to do all the things that he's doing. And that would be incredible to see. He's on the cusp of 200 strikeouts. He's got another chance to lower that ERA.
That's great.
And I saw another graphic on Thursday again, Mike. Top 5 Cy Young candidates. Shohei nowhere to be found. And the problem I have with it goes back to our conversation about bias yesterday, is that because he wasn't in the graphic, there were tons of replies from Yankee fans saying, oh, and he's in the MVP race. He's not even in the Cy Young contention. I said, no, the graphic designer who works at MLB didn't put Shohei in the graphic when he, by all accounts, should be there. So that was pretty frustrating. It goes back to what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, MLB is doing a banger job of promoting Shohei Ohtani, and we're really proud. Let me just applaud you for the unicorn that has never, ever, ever played in this game before, and you guys are promoting him like no other. Everybody knows about Shohei Ohtani, and now let me wake up from my dream. Oh, wait, that's the NFL that promotes their players really, really well. That's the NBA that promotes their players really, really well. Rob Manfred, you might want to wake up from your nap and realize that you've got 2 once-in-a-generation type of players that are playing right now in Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, maybe 3 with Mike Trout. And perhaps you might want to do something with them, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, we've got Reed Detmers on the mound on Saturday, and of course, Jose Suarez on Sunday. So some good pitching matchups in our favor, I believe, going into the weekend. It should be a great series against the Twins. We'll have Matty V back on the call for the Twins series. I love when Matty V's in the broadcast booth with Gooby. They have a great time, and he's got a lot of great insight. So a good weekend ahead. Hopefully we can put this Texas series behind us. Yeah, we had the chance to at least try to win the series, but now that is out of reach because we have 3 more games against Texas, and they have already outplayed us and outwon us this season. So the season series belongs to the Rangers. So, we can put that behind us. Let's focus on the Twins this weekend and hopefully get some wins coming out of Minnesota.
You know what they should have done? They should have walked the bases loaded with when Seager got up there. That would have helped them win the game, right?
That's right.
Oh, never mind. Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, 2 names have recently come up as interesting options for manager and for hitting coach. So we're going to talk a little bit about them. But first, Locked On Angels is brought to you by BetOnline. They're your number 1 source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. You can find all the latest football league developments, great matchups, news, and podcast at BetOnline. And they're also your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Fastest and easiest way to check out all your sports and events. head to Bet Online. They have all the information you need: MLB, MMA, boxing, golf. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. Bet Online, where the game starts.
We appreciate you making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, the Arizona Fall League is a league in which we see a lot of minor league players go to get some experience, get some reps, perhaps throw a few innings, get a couple of plate appearances, and we have some Angels prospects headed to the Arizona Fall League. So let's talk about the 5 or 6 that we have headed to the Arizona Fall League, and we'll take them one by one. Why don't you start us out?
How about Ivan Armstrong? He is a right-handed pitcher for the Tri-City Dust Devils. He's 22 years old. He's a bullpen arm, and they're actually looking forward to him going to the Arizona Fall League, get some extra work this off season. I think they're still trying to figure out what he is, because looking at his stats, he's had a couple of starts, but then he's mostly been in the bullpen. And I know that that's minor league baseball. They're trying to figure you out. But this actually could be a great indicator as to how they're going to use him. And they're leaning, it looks, based upon what notes are out there, that he is going to lean more bullpen and maybe be your 6th or 7th inning type of guy. So Ivan Armstrong is headed to the Arizona Fall League.
Right-handed pitcher Kelvin Caceres, who plays for Inland Empire, the 66ers. He's 22 years old. He's a back end of the bullpen guy. In fact, he has 4 saves and 2 holds this year. So that'll be great, because after Thursday's game, I'm interested in all the bullpen talent that we have within our system,
right?
And would like to see some of these guys possibly make an impact or even move up to Double-A next season. So this might be a big step forward for Caceres, and to see what he has in his arsenal and how he can contribute to the team moving forward. Mike, I'll say this next one for you because it's a difficult name. Right-handed pitcher Jack Kachanowicz. How about
Thank
Jack?
you so much. Yeah, here's why we are great brothers and why we need to do the show together. John reads all the hard words. Is that hip hop anonymous? All right, so Jack is 21. He's 6'6", Johnny.
Yeah.
And right now they're using him as a starter. He was a long reliever, but it looks like he's leaning more to being a starter. But when you're that tall on the mound, that's intimidating, and that ball is coming down at an angle, right? And so this is an interesting guy, and I'm excited to see what he can actually do. Only 21 years old and 6'6", and starter, long reliever. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of time he has in the Arizona Fall League.
How about Connor Van Scoyoc, who is also 6'6"? He's 22 years old. He's a starter, and he's had a great year in the Inland Empire. He went 11-5. So a tall guy as a starter. I love me some tall pitchers, Mike. It reminds me of Jared Weaver. Ding. So let's see how he shakes out in the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah. Infielder Werner Blakely is from the 66ers. He's 22. He is a David Fletcher type of hitter. So more of a slap hitter. Had a really good average for the 66ers. He batted .295. And I know that that's not the thing that everybody measures people by, but I thought that was a good average for him. 5 home runs, had over like 40 RBIs. And so Werner is actually heading to Arizona, and perhaps could be somebody that develops into a solid backup for the Halos, is kind of where he's projected right now.
Finally, we have infielder Kyron Paris, who probably is familiar to a lot of Locked On Angels listeners, or at least have heard that name before. He's 20 years old. He's got some power. He's got some pop, Mike. He's hit 12 home runs, and he has a .780 on-base plus slugging percentage. So those are great signs. It would be great to see what he's capable of in the Arizona Fall League, and somebody that I feel like a lot of people have talked about within the Angels organization, especially Kyron Paris and Werner Blakely. I think the two of them are the ones that I'm most familiar with, and probably the ones that I'm most intrigued by when we look at who's going to the Arizona Fall League. In fact, I'm actually excited about all 6 of these guys, because the fact that we have some pitchers going, the fact that the 2 infielders who are going that we're pretty familiar with, but also have good feelings about, and they come up a lot when you talk about the Angels' best prospects. But those 4 other pitchers I'm excited for, because we need all the pitching help that we can get. And also, if they're not quite ready to come up and help the team, immediately next year, you want them to have a good showing because you want to have some trade pieces for the offseason. And so if these guys show up and show out in the fall league, then we might have some chips on our hands to trade to other teams. But who intrigues you the most out of this list?
Well, I love the two guys. I love Jack and Connor. They're both 6'6", and a tall pitcher for me always is intriguing because, again, that slope, being able to pitch down, being able to have leverage when you're out there. Randy Johnson was so successful because he was so tall. And another guy that these two guys remind me of is Kai Bush, who actually started the playoff game for the Trash Pandas. Kai Bush is really tall. He's, I think, 6'6" as well. So we've got some really tall guys in the minor leagues. And I just think that that's to their advantage. I think where it actually can hurt them is in their mechanics, because when you're so tall and lanky, you can actually lose your release point. You can actually get slow when you're actually winding up. And so if these guys can nail that, and they have somebody working with them that can help pick out the areas where they're really struggling, I think that we could see these guys sooner rather than later. And wouldn't it be great to see them really improve? And you're right, trade pieces is always something that we need to consider. And the Inland Empire 66ers were a playoff team as well. And so they're coming off a really good year. And so I hope they have a really good time in Arizona, because it could really be beneficial to the organization either to pick up players or to be a player that we can count on in the near future.
Hey, as we get into our last segment of the day, I just want to do a little Locked On Angels announcement. We are going to be having a report card of sorts for all of the talent. Well, most of the talent, not the ones that were here for a minute and left, but for most of the talent that made an impact on the Halos this season. So we have a survey in the episode description. So if you're on YouTube, click that description. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can find the link in the episode description. It's a little survey, and you can rate each player 1 to 5, and then leave 3 words or less on how you might describe their season, describe the player themselves. And then we're going to compile all the data and share the results. And so it'll be a Locked On Angels listener / fan grade episode toward the end of the season. We're going to start that today, and we're going to have it run through at least the end of the regular season. And then we'll share those results on Locked On Angels. So please check out the survey in the episode description, and we'd be glad to have your input on that.
Johnny, you were on the Locked On MLB show with Sully.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of the episode, he just kind of throws out 2 names. And it's casually. 2 names. Yeah, it's 2 names that kind of have been rumored to be manager and hitting coach for the Halos. And if you're a longtime baseball fan, these names are actually pretty familiar to you. Roberto Kelly is the name that he threw out. And then Hensley Meulens is another name that he threw out. And there's been some talk about these 2 guys getting some traction because they've really put together a pretty good managerial coaching career after their careers were over. So let me talk Roberto Kelly for just a moment. He is obviously a former professional baseball player, and he was signed by the Yankees as a free agent in 1982. John was not born yet. I was. And he went on to play for the Yankees from 87 to 92, and then came back in the year 2000. Played for the Reds, the Braves, the Expos, the Dodgers, the Twins, the Mariners, and the Texas Rangers. And during his playing days in Panama, he actually was known as La Sombra, which is Spanish for shadow. So he had a great nickname down there. After his playing career, he managed the Giants' single A team, the Augusta Green Jackets. I love these minor league names.
I know, they're the best.
He was hired by the Giants in 2007 to be their first base coach and hitting instructor. And he has this reputation, John. He started in the minor leagues, and then when he went to the Giants, he got more of it, for being aggressive in his approach to base running. And if you ever watched Roberto Kelly play, you can go, oh, yeah, he was really great on the base pass. And
do you remember him playing when you were watching?
Oh, I totally remember Roberto Kelly. Like, I remember actually with the Reds more. And here's why. Because when I played the old MLB games on like the regular Nintendo, the original Nintendo, he was on the Reds. So that's why I remember him distinctly there. But in 2008, he told the Giant pitchers that he didn't want them to use the fact that they were pitchers as poor excuses for as base runners. He wanted them to actually hustle and run and
I like
all
that.
of those things. So I love that. He's currently a manager in the Mexican League, and he's gained a lot of respect over the last few years as the manager. So this name was thrown out there, Johnny, as an option, maybe somebody who's a potential manager for the Halos, hitting instructor, base running instructor. When you hear the name Roberto Kelly, what are your thoughts on him potentially being the next manager of the Halos?
I like the resume. I like the fact that he's the aggressive base running type. You and I both know that the Angels' best years were always because we were great on the bases and we were stealing bags and playing small ball and moving runners over. In fact, a lot of our early success this season came from smart base running. And I feel like a combination of smart hitting, not necessarily big hitting, but smart hitting and smart base running is something the Angels sorely need. So I could see him being a great option for manager next season. I'll be interested to see what kind of guy Perry Manassian wants to bring into the organization and lead this team. I'm sure he's got candidates in mind, but this is a really intriguing option. And Sully's watched a lot of baseball, and I trust his opinion when it comes to these things. And that's a name that he threw out. He also threw out another name, Mike. It was Hensley Meulens. Am I saying that right? Meulens?
Yeah, Hensley Meulens, which I don't know why we need a new hitting coach. I mean, ours is fine. So I don't understand why. Oh, wait, never mind. Go ahead.
False. Yeah, I don't suppose Jeremy Reed will be here at the end of
if he makes it. That's probably another segment. If he makes it, we got to talk about that. But go ahead and talk about
I think he's going to be fired as soon as the season's over, to be honest. That's going to be the
last
announcement.
out hits the glove.
Yeah. October 6th is going to be his last day. So let's talk about Hello? Let's talk about Hensley Meulens. He's the assistant hitting coach for the New York Yankees. He played from 1989 to 2000 in MLB. He's played in Nippon Professional Baseball and the KBO over there in Korea. He was the first Kurakuan to play in both MLB and the Dominican Professional Baseball League. Hitting home runs left-handed while playing softball as a teenager earned him the nickname Bam Bam, with his friends comparing his power to the Flintstones character, Fred and Betty's son. Is that right?
No, it was
Barney and Betty. Sorry. Yes. Hitting home runs left-handed, of course, as a softball player, crushing it. And of course, he's credited with helping Aaron Judge this season become who he is and help other Yankee hitters get right. We all know they struggled in 2021. They did not have as dominant of a run as they've had this season. So Meulens, as the assistant hitting coach with the Yankees, of course, we always know assistants like to move up to the head hitting coach position or the head of their coaching area. And so that would be an interesting option at hitting coach for the Angels. And if Phil Nevin sticks around in some capacity, that might be another connection, another great tie to the Angels. Not saying that Nevin would be the manager, but if he returned to third base coach or what have you and sticks around the organization, that would be an interesting connection as well. But what are your thoughts on Meulens as the hitting coach?
I think that we need somebody who can actually really help these hitters. And I love that the Aaron Judge story is out there and also the other players that have improved on the Yankees this season. And you can see that improvement, right? And so he's had a big part to play in that. We need somebody that helps them with their approach. We need somebody that allows them to be a bit free as well, where they can make decisions at the plate. And when Joe Maddon gave his interview and talked about all of the stuff that was happening behind the scenes, it really sounded like there was just honestly a lot of mixed signals being sent. And Joe wanting to do his thing, and Perry's like, stop doing that. I need you to do this because it's not working. And who knows what else is happening in that dugout. And when you're finding yourself in the situation that the Angels are finding themselves in, I think at some point, the coaches have just gone, just go out there, figure it out, right? Like,
have fun.
I know that they're doing their job, and this is not to be disrespectful to them, but I think at some point they've kind of gone, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Because you've even heard stories about like they're not having batting practice, or they're only batting inside, or they're not going out on the field and hitting. And I think consistency is always the thing that helps you to get right. And so let's be a bit consistent. You only adjust that rhythm as like a fluke or as an anomaly to try to break up maybe the monotony of what you're doing.
Right.
So I want somebody that can come in and really help with that. And it seems like Hensley's got a good head on his shoulders, and it seems like he's got a great strategy. And quite honestly, I think we could get anybody in there and do a better job than what Jeremy Reed has done. And I do have to say, and there's been some conversation about this, like a lot of the Angels hitters have improved. Like Taylor Ward has improved,
of course.
right? And so do we give Jeremy Reed credit for that? I don't want to, but I think that there might be something to that, right? But because they fell off a cliff this year, like the offense was never a worry. And the fact that we're talking about how great the pitching is and that the offense hasn't been able to come through is a reflection of whoever is leading them. Like, even if it's not Jeremy Reed's fault, Jeremy Reed has to pay the price because he's the leader of this hitting, right? And so you got to get somebody else in there with a new voice, a different perspective. I don't even think like waiting until next season to just kind of wash your mouth out with this season and start fresh. I think you got to get somebody in there that speaks a different language and that comes from great success like the New York Yankees.
Yeah, start early in the offseason and find the right person to fill that role. Look, between the two of them, between Roberto Kelly and Hensley Meulens, I think regimented is a good word. I think that you were saying consistency, and I think getting this team to be regimented and going out there and knowing what to expect every day that they show up, that they have a consistent routine and rhythm to help them get in the mindset of having a great game and being prepared to be at the plate and being prepared to go out there and run the base as well and play small ball and be strategic in how they handle the opponents. I think that that is something that this team sorely needs. They need consistency. They need to be regimented. And I think that these two guys could bring that to the table in 2023.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, the place where you hear John pronounce all of the words for me, and so we appreciate that. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB podcast, with our friend Sully, who brings humor and passion and his unique perspective on every team and shares some of the biggest stories from around the league, even shares some good rumors like Roberto Kelly and Hensley Meulens. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Angels. And before you go, be sure to get at us on Twitter and Instagram. I got a fly going around here. Jeez. Wants to be part of the show. Get at us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Angels, and of course at Super Halo Bros as well. Mike, what do we have on deck for Monday show?
Monday show. Yeah, it's Mailbag Monday. So get in our listens and get in our DMs and tweet at us. And you can even send us a voicemail. We would love to hear the sultry sounds of your voice. And so you can do that by simply calling us 714-409-6396. And all of this information will be in the description. So give us a call, leave your question, leave your comment. Also send us, tweet at us, direct message us, Instagram and Twitter. We would love to hear from you. So that Mailbag Monday, we get to hear from the Locked On Angel fans.
It's our favorite day of the week. It's our favorite episode of the week. Don't forget to take that survey. Again, it's going to be in the episode description. I'll make it the top comment here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube as well. Until Monday, have a great weekend. And until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
And we'll see you right back here on Monday for more Locked On Angels.